Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel Not Just IELTS. Today we are going to focus on grammatical range and accuracy, which means that we are going to discuss the grammar rules and their relevance to the IELTS exam. This is one of the easiest and yet one of the most difficult sections of the IELTS exam. Doesn't it seem paradoxical? Let me explain how. It is easy because there are certain rules of the English grammar. If we make ourselves aware of them, we can easily score high in this section. It is difficult because there are many rules to master. But don't you worry, this is where I come to your rescue. My job is to walk you through these rules in a simple yet efficient manner so that you can learn all of them very easily. Without further ado, let's jump into this lesson. As you all know, an essay is made up of paragraphs, and these paragraphs are further made up of sentences. So let's look at what a sentence really is. A sentence is a grammatical unit that expresses a complete idea or a thought. A sentence has a subject and a predicate. Subject is the person or thing which we talk about. In other words, subject is the doer of an action. Predicate is something that is said about the subject. For an example, I ate a chocolate. Here the subject is I, who is doing an action. The action is I ate, the past form of the word eat. I ate a chocolate. The subject I performed an action on the chocolate. Hence, the chocolate becomes the predicate. Ate is the verb, which is the action that was performed by the subject on the predicate. Now, one thing to note over here is that the English language follows the SVP agreement, which means subject, verb, predicate. A pro tip over here for the IELTS exam. Please do not translate your sentences from your native language to the English language. The reason is that your native language might be following the SPV agreement. That means subject, predicate, verb. Let's look at an example. I ate a chocolate. In English, it is I, the subject, is performing the action on the predicate. In Punjabi, we would say the same thing as मैं chocolate खादी. In Hindi, we would say that as मैंने chocolate खाई. So in Hindi, the agreement is subject, predicate, verb. मैंने chocolate खाई. Same goes with Punjabi and other Indian native languages. So we have to keep in mind that English follows the SVP agreement. Please be careful that you simply do not translate sentences from your native language to the English language. The agreement of subject and predicate would go bad, and therefore you won't be able to write a logically correct sentence. Let's go further. Let's discuss the types of sentences that we have. First is declarative or assertive sentence, which means a statement type of sentence. For an example, I went for a walk. So I'm just giving a statement that I went for a walk. It's a simple statement. Next is interrogative sentences, which means the sentences that have questions in them. These usually end with a question mark. Where did you go for a walk? Now you see that this sentence ends with a question mark, which means it's a question type of a sentence. Hence, an interrogative sentence. Imperative sentence, which means a sentence that exhibits a command or a request. Please have a seat. Since I'm requesting someone, so this becomes an imperative sentence or a sentence with a command. Finally, we have exclamatory sentences. These sentences express or exhibit feelings. For an example, what a beautiful cat. What a beautiful sunny day. These sentences end with an exclamation mark, which means they are showing a feeling or an emotion. Now over here, a pro tip for IELTS writing. A lot of us make use of assertive or imperative sentences or maybe exclamatory sentences, but we usually do not use the interrogative sentences. Now if you want to fetch more marks, I would highly suggest that you start incorporating the interrogative sentences in your essays. This will show the examiner that you are aware of, or you can use a variety of sentences. Let's look at an example for this. If you remember, we had discussed this question in one of the previous examples. Explain some of the ways in which humans are damaging the environment. What can governments do to address these problems? What can individual people do? Now, when we are starting with the para 3, which will contain the answer to the third question, what can individual people do? We can start with, are only governments responsible for mitigating the damage to the environment? Question mark. The answer is no. Individuals also have a major role to play in it. If you look at this sentence, are only governments responsible, which means we are carrying the notion of the previous paragraph. The previous paragraph was about what can governments do. So in the paragraph number 3, we are carrying the same notion that are the only governments responsible for this job. Over here, we have used a question sentence or an interrogative sentence. This will show the examiner that we know this type of sentence creation as well. I would really recommend that you must include interrogative sentences in your essays wherever possible. You might encounter a situation in which you are not able to come up with an interrogative sentence. In that case, just simply avoid it. It's not necessary that you use it. If you use it, it will fetch you more marks. But the condition is that you use it correctly. Always remember, not using something is better than using it incorrectly. Now let's proceed further. The next topic is phrases and clauses. What is a phrase? What is a clause? Let's discuss them. Phrase means a part of a sentence that does not make a complete sense. For an example, I ate a chocolate. Over here, I've highlighted the group of words, ate a chocolate. It's a part of a sentence, but this group alone does not make any sense. Hence, it qualifies to be a phrase. Clause. A clause is also part of a sentence, but it contains a subject and a predicate as well. For an example, I ate a chocolate which contained nuts. So now I've added something extra to the sentence, which contained nuts. Which is the subject and nuts is the predicate. So this part, which contained nuts, is a clause. Why? The only difference is that it contains a subject and a predicate. Now a tip over here, I would suggest that you write well descriptive sentences in your IELTS exam. For an example, I ate a chocolate versus I ate a chocolate which contained nuts. The second sentence has more details. It is more descriptive. Hence, it looks better than the first sentence. So I would suggest that you write descriptive, detailed sentences in your exam. Today we have tried to explore just the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot of things that we are going to discuss in the upcoming lessons. We'll be going through parts of speech, articles, verbs and nouns, tenses, simple, compound and complex sentences. Alright, now let's proceed to today's extra bites. In this lesson, I used a word called paradoxical. It is an adjective. The noun form of this word is paradox. Meaning of this word is a statement that exhibits contradictory views. The sentence that I've created is, ever since lockdown has been implemented, people have paradoxically thronged the grocery stores to shop for essentials. Which means, on the one hand, lockdown has been implemented for social distancing and to avoid large gatherings. On the other hand, a lot of people have gathered in the grocery stores to shop for their essential commodities. Hence, this is a paradoxical situation. Now let's have a look at today's homework. Today's homework is that you should try to make sentences using the word paradox or paradoxical. There is another word which is similar to paradox. This word is irony. Try to find out the difference between an irony and a paradox, and then try to come up with sentences using these words. I also used a word called thronged in this lesson. Find out its meaning and its usage, and then write these in your OWOD notepad. If you haven't started incorporating new words in your OWOD notepad, please start doing so. This exercise will immensely help you to enrich your vocabulary. With this, we have reached the end of today's video. I really hope you would have found it useful. You guys keep learning. I'll see you in another lesson. Till then, stay tuned, stay awesome.